Yo, if you guys drop like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, you'll get a win the next time you log on to Warzone. All right, what is going? What is happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys through my top 5 most overpowered guns you guys can use here in Call of Duty Warzone. Ever since the meta, there's been a decent shift in what people do happen to use, and you have had to alter up quite a bit of your attachments. So that's why I've gone through, nitpicked everything, gone through and dissected all the attachments, and I'm going to figure out what is the best thing for you guys to use here on the most overpowered guns in Warzone. Before we get any farther, though, if you guys can do me a favor and drop a like on this video. Also, make sure you guys subscribe with all notifications turned on. We're on that road to 800,000 subscribers, so you guys can join the squad. And also, let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite gun to use in Warzone right now? Okay, so first on our list here of our top 5 is, of course, going to be the AUG. This is a gun that basically got nerfed. It was like the only thing that was really in the patch notes, and I talked about this. I made a class setup and everything on it, and now we're going to go over here and improve class setup for you guys that you can really enjoy. So for the muzzle category, we have a couple of different options in here. So the first one, the primary one that's going to be a lot of people's go-to, is going to be the agency silencer for that sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. The other one you guys can happen to use, it's not going to be a silencer though. If you happen to have trouble with any sort of the recoil on it, you can use the infantry compensator, and that is going to be an amazing attachment. When you combine the infantry compensator with the rest of the attachments we're going to throw in the AUG, it's basically going to make it to the point where it has almost no recoil, basically like what it was pre-patch before that update, that massive update that was way too big. So you guys can use the infantry comp or the agency silencer. My preference is going to be the silencer though, just because I like staying off the radar, though you can still do a lot of work with the infantry compensator, and you should definitely go ahead and try this out. Next up is going to be the barrel section, and what we're going to do in here is we're going to go ahead and add on the 18.2 strike team barrel for that fire rate and that aim walking movement speed. It does give you a bit of that effective damage range con and the aiming stability con, but you don't really ever notice the aiming stability or realistically the effective damage range. I just always run this just to begin with. I actually tried even running the 19.8 task force barrel because this gave me effective damage range and bullet velocity, which I thought was really good, but to be honest with you, I immediately went back to the 18.2 strike team barrel full time. As soon as I happened to try it out again here after the batch, I was like, okay, this thing is still superior. You guys should definitely run the strike team. Now for your underbarrel section, we have more or less a couple options in here that we can use, but I should just say it kind of boils down to about one, and that's going to be the field agent foregrip here. So that's going to be that vertical recoil control, your horizontal recoil control. This is going to be amazing. I always run this when I happen to use the AUG. There's just really no reason for me not to use it. I have seen some people try to get away with running the SVOD speed grip or just a regular front grip, but to be honest with you guys, I mean, it's just the field agent foregrip is going to be like the GOAT, you know, of all the foregrips. It's just going to be the best one no matter what. So just always run this, and you can just kind of ignore some of those cons because it really doesn't matter at all. Just throw this on there. For the ammunition side of things, this is going to be a half personal preference, half like, you know, something actually got nerfed, and that's going to be that I used to run the Salvo 54 round fast mag, and I used to run this because I was like, okay, you know, it's really solid, and it really didn't give me much of an aim down sights time con. But since that update, they actually made it so that the 54 round fast mag, or like basically all of the fast mags, do happen to actually do their aim down sights time penalty, and this is like a negative 25%. So you definitely want to stay away from the Salvo and run something like the Stenag 54 round drum, or even something like the 45 round drum, and you'll get even less of an aim down sights penalty if actually there's no aim down sights penalty at all. But for me, I like running the Stenag 54 round drum. This is my preference, but I should say just always stay away from the fast mags now on these guns because they will inhibit your ADS time just way too much. It's just not worth it. And then for the optic section, what we're going to do here is we're going to throw on the X alarms 3 times. This is an amazing optic. I've been running this a lot on the AUG, almost exclusively, and I really genuinely enjoy it. I think this is definitely the most clear one. It gives me the most amount of range because, I mean, I'm not going to be using this thing outside of that 3 times optic range. It's just not beneficial. Like the recoil, the balance between the bursts, it's just not going to be effective outside of that range. So this is that perfect, you know, optic for you guys to be able to run. I have seen some other people run the Sussat multi-zoom, which is definitely a really solid one, and this almost can make your gun feel like it has no recoil because that 2 times is kind of a little bit ridiculous, and the 4 times magnification on it is pretty solid as well. I have to do some experimenting with this, but I have seen a lot more people use this thing. So between that and the X alarms, you really can't go wrong. These are both amazing sights, and this is going to be my full AUG build here. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this one. Go ahead and try it out. It's absolutely amazing, and it's still probably the most dominant gun in Warzone right now. Now jumping into a gun that is definitely probably one of the other most dominant guns in Warzone, that's going to be the FFAR. This, of course, is the side scroller variant. For those of you guys that are wondering, I had the golden AUGX last time. I like to have a lot of these variants in here. So let's jump into this. So the muzzle category, we're adding on the agency suppressor, sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, effective damage range. The things we like to have out of our suppressor, this is just by far, you know, the GOAT mode of all suppressors. You definitely just want to be able to run this, or even not just the suppressors, basically just the muzzle category. You should just always run this thing until it somehow gets nerfed, and I tell you guys otherwise. You know, I'm not going to give you a bad class setup because this is what I'm running in game myself. So just run the agency. Now for the underbarrel section, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to go all the way down to the very bottom, and we're going to run the SFOD speed grip, and this is getting me that sprinting move speed and that horizontal recoil control. You can either use this one or the field agent grip, but this is largely dependent on the type of build you're going for. I'm trying to go for a maximum mobility close range FFAR build because that's what we were able to get last time, but you know, pre-patch with this, but they did change up a lot of the attachments and everything, and they do some different stuff, so we've had to alter up our FFAR quite significantly to be able to make it do what it used to. So I'm going to be using the SFOD speed grip, and this is going to give me that sprinting move speed, horizontal recoil control, and this is going to be super solid. You guys should definitely try this out. Much like the AUG, we need to stay away from the fast mag type variant of the magazine, so aka the salvo 50 round fast mag. Stay away from that. Just run the STANAG 50 round. You're just going to be entirely fine here. This is what I've been running. The reload really isn't all that much slower, to be honest with you guys, and it still gives you the 50 rounds in the magazine, which is definitely what we want. So just go ahead and run this. Something that's a little bit interesting is that I never ran a rear grip on any of my guns beforehand because I really just thought they were kind of a little bit BS and they really were working properly. But what we are doing here today, because they actually did fix them, is we're going to be running the serpent wrap, and this is going to give us the most amount of aim down sights time possible that we can realistically get out of our wraps with the least amount of downsides. So I really love the serpent wrap, and you guys should definitely be running this thing. This is like my replacement attachment because we aren't going to be running a barrel, and this is super good. Trust me, like, this is amazing. I love having this on the FFAR. And then for our last attachment, what we're going to be using here is going to go down to the very bottom, and we're going to run the Raider stock for the ADS firing move speed and walking movement speed and sprint to fire time. And the only con on here is that it downgrades your hip fire accuracy, which nobody's hip firing with the FFAR, to be honest with you guys, so that really doesn't matter to me at all. This is like almost like a no con attachment, at least in my personal opinion, just because I love the fact that this is the Raider stock just gives me so much mobility. I also really like this FFAR build. This thing is an absolute heater. You guys should definitely go ahead and try this out. It's a bit of an interesting build. You have like no recoil, you move around super fast, and just basically makes it really good for those close quarter situations that the FFAR is designed to be used for. All right, so for our third weapon, let's jump into the MAC-10. This is another very competitive SMG type variant of a weapon. I'm saying like a variant because the FFAR is used like an SMG, so we're going to be giving you guys the competitor to the FFAR right now, which is indeed going to be the MAC-10. So for the muzzle, like always, the agency suppressor, I'm not going to go for this too much here. So the agency, you just want to throw it on there. Best attachment by far. For the barrel section, what we're going to be doing here is we had a bit of an interesting sort of mix-up or mashup here. When they did the patch, they changed out some of the stuff in the barrels, and we were able to run like the Cavalry Lancer because that was giving us like some effective damage range, but they changed it back to vehicle damage for whatever reason, so you definitely cannot run the Cavalry Lancer. That was like a JGod recommended attachment there to run, so I was using it. I thought it was really solid, but now what we're actually running is all the way back down to the 5.9 Task Force. This is going to give us that effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. As soon as it gives you a negative for the vertical and horizontal recoil, but honestly the MAC-10 just really doesn't have any recoil to begin with, so you'll be entirely fine. Like, it's not noticeable at all. And in the underbarrel section, to keep it even more unnoticeable, we're going to be throwing on the field agent grip for that vertical and horizontal recoil control. So even if you feel like you do happen to get some recoil that you do not like out of that barrel, then you're going to be fully taken care of with the field agent grip, and this is going to make it so that you basically have no recoil whatsoever. It can be an absolute laser beam. It's going to be good. In the theme of staying away from those fast mags, what we're going to do here is we're going to throw in the STANAG 53 round drum. I was running this even pre-patch just because the salvo didn't really help out as much as it really should have. The fast reload really wasn't doing that much, and it still gave you an aim down sights time penalty. So that's why we just been sticking with the STANAG 53 round drum magazine. If you guys have been running that, continue running it. It is indeed the best magazine attachment. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is just genuinely the best. And last but not least, we're going to go into the stock category and go down to the very bottom. Put on the Raider stock for that AUGX firing move speed, and walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. This is an amazing attachment here on the MAC-10. This is my full MAC-10 build. This thing is amazing. I love running this. This is like my trusty secondary. If I'm not using a FFAR, I'm using the MAC-10 because it's just so unbelievably good. Now checking out one of the guns that I really enjoy personally here as of recent, ever since the patch a little bit more so than the AUG, is the M16. This is like the other competitive tactical rifle in the game, and so this is going to be a really fun one. By the way, I do happen to have like a cool variant and also gold camo on top of it. So for any of you guys that are wondering what it is, it's a LAVISH opulence, and then I have a gold camo on top of it, so it looks pretty sick here. But for the muzzle, of course, agency suppressor, air silencer, whatever you want to call it. This is just gonna be the best attachment, so throw that on there. For the barrel section, we're gonna keep this very similar to what we do with the AUG, because much like the AUG, the same attachment in the barrel section is going to be the best for the M16. That's going to be the 15.9 strike team for that fire rate and aim walking movement speed. You guys should definitely run this. There's no reason to run something else like the titanium barrel or even like the task force barrel. It just doesn't make sense. You guys just want to run the strike team, and this is going to be your best bet. Seriously, just always run this. For the underbarrel section, we can keep this very simple, and we're going to run the field agent foregrip, horizontal and vertical recoil control. This is going to keep you very much so on target in between those bursts when you are spamming those things out. This thing really doesn't have too much recoil in comparison to the AUG. The AUG definitely has more recoil, but it hits a little bit harder just because of, you know, the way it's built. But honestly, this is going to make it so that you really don't have to deal with much recoil at all. You can just spam out those bursts. So the field agent foregrip is going to be awesome. For the ammunition, like I said with the AUG, this is a little bit more personal preference here. Just you should stay away from the fast mags. So the 45 round magazine is going to be really solid, but I personally run with a Snag 60 round magazine. I love having 60 rounds, or just the most amount of rounds I can get in an AR, and even especially kind of like a burst kind of Warzone. It just makes me feel almost like unstoppable because I can take people out pretty quickly, but also just being able to take out multiple people in a single magazine is definitely a huge W in my book. So you guys should just run the Snag 60 round. And then for the optic, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to throw on once again the axle arms 3 times. I love the axle arms when it comes down to just using burst rifles. I'm not a huge fan of it on fully automatic ARs for the Cold War weapons, but the VLK on the Modern Warfare weapons is amazing. Just for whatever reason, the axle arms on the Cold War fully automatic rifles just doesn't sit that well with me, and it has too much vertical, or not vertical, but even just like, you know, view kick, or, you know, you can just see it. It's just not that fun to use. So I like the axle arms 3 times on the burst, though. That is an entirely different story. This thing is amazing. You guys should use this. This is my full M16 build here. Hopefully you guys go and dominate some Warzone with this thing. It's an absolute slapper. Definitely one of my favorite guns to use right now. And now for a gun that I think is going to be super good as well. That's going to be the MP5. This thing has one of the fastest time to kills out of the Cold War SMGs. I think it's actually even has a faster time to kill than the Modern Warfare MP5. So you guys should have used this between the two, though sometimes the iron sights and the recoil can get a little bit interesting with this. But for whatever reason, this thing kills a little bit faster. So the muzzle category, like I always say, agency suppressor, we're going to throw that on there. And then for the barrel section, what we're going to do here is this one also got switched up here a little bit like it did for the MAC-10. So we're going to go down to the very bottom and run the 9.5 task force for that effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. You guys will get a tad bit more recoil with this, and if you do not, if you feel like you're getting too much recoil, then I would suggest trading it out for the 9.5 reinforced heavy barrel. But honestly, you're just going to want to be able to switch between the reinforced heavy or the task force, and that's really about it. For me, it's the task force. I really genuinely like that, though you will have a tad bit more kick than if you were to use the reinforced heavy, but you do get some extra strafe speed when using the task force. So it's kind of a little bit personal preference, at least between those two. For the underbarrel section, we're going to be using the field agent foregrip, vertical and horizontal recoil control. Super crucial on this gun, especially just because the way it kicks up a decent bit. So you definitely want to run this. There's really no sort of like debate on this thing. You just always want to run the field agent. And for the ammunition side of things, what we're going to do here is we're going to throw in the largest magazine possible that's not going to give us too many penalties, which is going to be the Snag 50 round drum mag. I was using this, like I said, even previous to the patch, because the Salvo 50 round fast mag, I think at some point that like they removed it because it really wasn't working that right, and then it came back, but it just really wasn't all that great. So I mean, you should just run the Snag 50 round. This thing has been tried, true, and proven to be an amazing attachment in the magazine section for the MP5. And last but not least, in the stock category, we're going to throw in the Raider stock here for the AUGX firing move speed and walking movement speed, sprint to fire time. Amazing, amazing. We use the same thing on the MAC-10 just because it is so incredibly good. These attachment combinations work incredibly well as a secondary, so you just definitely want to use this. MP5, an amazing gun. I really like this, though I do need to use it a little bit more than I do right now. That's all I got for you guys here in today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new. Make sure you guys turn those notifications on. Comment down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow with a brand new video. Just remember, triple cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.